Hello and welcome back to the Vision of Veritas. I don't know if anybody took the time to actually listen to the press conference yesterday from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. But if you did, if you wasted 45 minutes of your day, you heard one common theme. Well, actually two. Two common themes. The first common theme was, I don't want to step all over the president and what his teleprompters tell him to say, so I'm not going to say anything.
I am not going to get ahead of this president. I'm not going to
Will the president address that specifically, I guess?
I'm not going to lay out or preview what the president's going to address or not address. I'm not going to get ahead of him. We'll let him make the announcement tomorrow.
Just to be clear, if you're not going to get ahead of him, that means that's an issue about which he'll be speaking, so you don't want to get ahead of him.
That is not what I said.
Okay. If I'm not asking about what he's going to say, I'm asking about that specific question.
And I'm answering that specific question, which is I'm not going to get ahead of the president. He's going to make his announcement tomorrow.
Okay.
And two, it was, even though the entirety of the country is in a far worse state than we were 4 years ago, as far as economics, as far as energy independence, as far as everything that actually matters when it comes to running a country and running a family, I want you to believe whatever I say, because regardless of what you see around you, what I say is actually true. What I say is actually what you need to believe. Because as always, Miss Jean-Pierre, knows far better than you do. Even though she lives with an expense account that far exceeds 3 to 4 times what the average American makes on a yearly basis, she knows, she understands, and can empathize with the average day American.
Any sort of preview on the gas price?
I'm not going to get, as you know, I would get myself in big trouble if I got ahead of the president, so I'm not going to do that today.
I have never seen someone so exceptional at not answering a question. I can't tell you how many times she was asked a question, didn't want to answer it, couldn't answer it, or didn't know the answer for it. She simply repeated the question back, only she repeated it back with an extra 30 or 40 words, acting as though she answered the question. Anyhow, some of the things she did talk about. She talked about certain things as constitutional rights, even though there's nothing in the Constitution about them, therefore they are not constitutional rights.
He is committed to making sure that we protect the rights of women. We have to understand that the decisions that women make are incredibly personal when it comes to their health care. It should be something that is decided between a woman and her doctor, her family, not politicians. And they should not be stepping in on a right that existed, a constitutional right that existed for almost 50 years. And so the president has talked about it and will continue to do so.
She talked about the desire to remove the filibuster because the filibuster is doing what it was designed to do. It's making it so one party can't push their entire agenda without at least some pushback. It's making it so that there must be at least some form of consensus amongst both of the parties. It's making it so that our 3 houses of government, the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branches, stay separate but equal. It's almost a last-ditch effort, even though Pelosi pays off the rhinos with kickbacks. It's kind of a last-ditched effort to make sure there is some form of agreement, at least the appearance of an agreement, on a bill that is completely and totally one-sided and unconstitutional. I mean, there's a reason why the left wants to dissolve it completely. It's keeping them from ramming through unconstitutional legislation. It's keeping them from ramming through unpopular legislation. And down the road, once they want it again, they'll just reinstate it. That's what the political left does. That's the politics that they play. Right now, in today's day and age, in our socio-political climate, there is truly no way to overstate just how vitally important the filibuster is right now.
That bill to send it to Congress and to codify Roe. Is he talking about filibuster reform in order to make that law?
Well, he talked about that already. He was very clear a couple months ago about how he would approve a carve out for the filibuster as it relates to this issue. So he has already made himself very clear on that.
She did have no problem talking about energy security for Ukraine, sending billions upon billions of more of our tax dollars over there for their security. Yet we are paying obscene prices at the pump over here. Chances are this has something to do with the backroom deals that both Hunter and Biden had with Ukraine, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to move along here.
they stand on Roe.
And then separately on Ukraine, given the targeting, particularly of energy infrastructure, I think the WHO warned that there's the potential for a spiraling humanitarian crisis. There's been a significant amount of U.S. economic aid that has gone along with the military assistance, but is the administration considering anything specific now to kind of triage at the moment where this has become a very acute and real crisis?
So don't have anything specific to preview or announce today. I can say the U.S. has delivered $8.5 billion in economic assistance since late spring, and we will continue to work with allies and partners to support Ukraine. Don't have anything else to preview.
Thanks.
While I can empathize with the plight of the Ukrainian people right now, the Ukrainian government is extremely corrupt. We know this because of the Biden crime family's dealings with them. But that aside, we have people right here in the United States that need the money that's being shuttled over there. We have veterans in the streets. We have vets without proper health care. Former President Trump was doing positive things to our VA system, and now that's going back down the tubes. We have a government right now that cares more about individuals in a foreign country than it does people of our own country. We currently have a government that's beholden to foreign powers, and that's a problem. You know, it's infuriating to hear Jean-Pierre talk about the liberty and freedom of the Ukrainians, all the while the administration she is representing eviscerates our rights here at home. This next part is something I found very interesting. You remember when Kamala Harris said, well, she really blurted out at one of the debates that she was going to decriminalize and legalize marijuana everywhere. After that statement, you didn't hear anything else like whatsoever about it until now.
Thanks, Karine. Going back to the speech, the president mentioned his decision on marijuana during the speech. Why haven't we heard more about that since then, and do we plan on hearing more about that soon?
Well, we laid out our plan. You heard directly from the president on what his policy was on marijuana, and you heard that from you heard him mention that today. I don't have any more events to lay out about specific speeches or comments about marijuana, but you heard directly from the president about what his policy is, and he kept his promise, his commitment that he made during the campaign.
Until it was strategically brought out at the midterms. For one purpose and one purpose only. It was blurted out then for a singular purpose, and it was brought up now for that same purpose.
We will decriminalize marijuana. And we will expunge the records of those who have been convicted of marijuana.
It's to garner the votes of young people. Now, personally, I don't care what your thoughts are on the subject. You can be for it or against it. It doesn't matter to me. My problem with it is it was strategically brought up now for the sole purpose of garnering more votes. Specifically for the midterm here, for no other purpose other than that. She's intentionally being extremely ambiguous about it, too. She's leaving it open-ended so you can kind of fill in the blanks, hoping that if you vote for the Marxist left, that marijuana will be decriminalized across the nation at the federal level. The next thing we have brought up here, well, not the next thing, but one of the next things we have brought up here are the gas prices and how Jean-Pierre simply outright and blatantly lied, saying that the president is doing everything in his power to bring down gas prices. Everything with the exception of what actually needs to be done.
In June, every day Americans save about $420 million at the pump compared to mid-June. Now, gas prices are falling again, just to give you a little bit more of stats.
And all you need to do is look back to what President Trump did. He opened up the pipelines. He made drilling for oil easier. He made the United States a net energy exporter. We were energy independent under him. We are paying now 2.5 to 3 times as much at the pump, lest we forget the under $2 a gallon gas that we had under President Trump. And now what's really interesting is how Jean-Pierre is trying to frame it. She's trying to say, well, gas is going down a little bit over time, more and more, which is technically accurate, but it's intellectually dishonest and completely disingenuous. We were at the low price with President Trump. So So instead of now paying an extra $4 a gallon, we're paying an extra $3 a gallon. And she's trying to peddle it as a savings thanks to President Biden. And as I said, that's completely disingenuous. It's my sincere hope that the American people have the ability to see through some of these lies, at least some of them. And for those of us who know exactly how the Democrat Party works, as soon as these midterms are over, the prices are just going to shoot right back up.
There, the average retail price is down by 5 cents over the last week. States that saw sharper increases in recent weeks are also seeing more rapid declines. Just to give you a few states, California is down almost 30 cents this week. Wisconsin is down over 20 cents this week. Oregon is down over 20 cents this week. Michigan is down about 16 cents this week. Ohio and Indiana are down 13 cents this week. And so those are the few states that we're seeing the sharp declines that are now coming down.
Can you give any sort of preview on the gas price?
I'm not going to get, as you know, I would get.
And now we're on to the quote-unquote American Rescue Plan, even though said plan has absolutely wrecked our already destroyed economy.
His number one economic priority. We've heard the president say inflation is his top domestic priority, but now he's saying come next year, his first bill would be abortion related. So is his number one domestic priority abortion, or is it inflation?
Well, let's not forget what the president has done the last 19 months. He has made the economy his top priority. He has passed the American Rescue Plan. By the way, as you heard me say all the time, no Republicans voted for that in Congress, and it was a plan that helped us get back on our feet with the economy, that helped us gain or create 10 million jobs that we had lost. It also put money in people's pockets. It also made sure that businesses were able to open up, schools were able to open up, people were able to go back into their homes, save their homes. And so that was the American Rescue Plan.
Thanks to the installation of this president, without getting into too much detail, the massive fiscal expansion that this plan has introduced into this economy, it has set this country on track for the worst inflation in 40 years. Not 4, but 40 years. And while we are all feeling the negative effects of it, Biden is worried about propping up the corrupt government of Ukraine. But we really shouldn't expect any less. The quid pro quo and the backroom deals that he and Hunter had with Ukraine demand that our tax dollars go to prop them up, apparently. You know, listening to Jean-Pierre repeat herself over and over, saying nothing over and over, really makes you miss the days of McEnany. You know, even though there's more to this, it's like last time, it's just more of the same. They're circular arguments, she says it over and over, and when she does try to explain something, 9 chances out of 10 it's an out-and-out lie. And now the question was brought up of, why are Biden's campaign rallies so small? Why is there no one there? Why is he not really campaigning for the fellow Democrats who they are also trying to get installed into power?
I understand you have the Hatch Act to consider, but what I was curious is, even though we're seeing the president out there, he's been doing these smaller events with smaller audiences. He's been doing closed-door fundraisers with no photographers. Why aren't we seeing big campaign rallies? Is anything on the schedule with the election less than 3 weeks away?
Look, I can't answer that question from here. It is an election that's currently happening at this time, so I am very limited to what I can say from the podium, from the White House. What I can say is that the president has been on the road. He will continue to be on the road. I just can't say more than that. You have seen him. He was in Portland, Oregon, doing events. He was in California doing events. And he was in Colorado doing events.
Well, without saying anything conspiratorial, without bringing that which shall not be named into light here, something tells me they may not have anything to worry about. And the not having anything to worry about doesn't really have anything to do with getting legitimately elected. Believe me, I really hope that I'm wrong here. Now, I would never, ever suggest anything hanky going on here. I would never suggest anything disingenuous with the most freest, and mostest, fairest elections that ever went down in the history of this nation. I mean, bringing something up counter to the forced narrative is unthinkable. After all, we wouldn't want to be forcibly silenced here, now would we? You know, Stalin did a fantastic job of silencing his critics. Maybe one of these days we'll do a history lesson on how socialist leaders take out their opposition and how they silence anybody who doesn't peddle the narrative that they want to push. Well, in wrapping this up, I want to say thank you for joining me today for the Vision of Veritas, where we search out and point out the lies, the deception, and the never-ending hypocrisy of the left. If you would be so kind, if you could like, share, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm still a brand new channel, and I cannot grow this without you. Thank you much, and take care and enjoy your day.